Whereas in 1872, J. Sterling Morton proposed to the Nebraska Board of Agriculture that a special day be set aside for planting of trees. And whereas this holiday called Arbor Day was first observed at the planting of more than 1 million trees in Nebraska, and Arbor Day is now observed throughout the nation and the world. And whereas trees reduce the erosion of our precious topsoil by wind and water, cut heating and cooling costs, moderate the temperature, clean the air, produce oxygen, and provide habitat for wildlife. Whereas trees are a renewable source giving us paper, wood for our homes, fuel for our fires, and countless other wood products. And whereas trees in our community increase property values, enhance the economic vitality of businesses, and beautify our community. And whereas trees, wherever they are planted, are a source of joy and spiritual renewal. And whereas the City of Ogdensburg has been recognized as Tree City USA by the National Arbor Day Foundation and desires to continue its tree planting practices. And whereas on this day in 1868, the village of Ogdensburg became incorporated the City of Ogdensburg. And whereas today the City of Ogdensburg is celebrating its 150th anniversary of incorporation. And whereas today's tree planting and plaque dedication will commemorate Arbor Day as well as the city's 150th anniversary and commitment to planting and maintaining our trees. Now, therefore, I, Wayne L. Ashley, Mayor of the City of Ogdensburg, do hereby proclaim April 27, 18 as Arbor Day in the City of Ogdensburg, and I urge all citizens to celebrate Arbor Day and to support efforts to protect our trees and woodlands and to show our civic pride in our city this day, its 150th anniversary, and in the forthcoming days. Further, I urge all citizens to plant trees to gladden the heart and promote the well-being of this and future generations. And with that, I will give this to the Director of the Recreation Department, who's not here at the proclamation.
State Senator Patty Ritchie asked me to come today. A copy of her proclamation is also included in the time capsule, but she felt it was important today to celebrate this important moment in the history of Ogdensburg. A lot of people don't realize that shortly after the end of the Civil War, as a lot of Ogdensburg residents came back from that long and bloody conflict, one of the decisions that those community members made was to remake Ogdensburg into a city, and they went to the state legislature and asked for legislation to be passed to make Ogdensburg the only city here in St. Lawrence County. Their feeling being that because at the time we had the new railroad, the port was operating, ships from across the Great Lakes were making a point to come, and Ogdensburg was becoming a center of commerce and a center of transportation. It was only fitting that Ogdensburg become a city, and this community dedicate itself to providing the services and infrastructure to support one of the major central places in northern New York at its time. So, like I said, I'm not going to put you through reading an entire proclamation from the state Senate, but Patty, as the representative of Ogdensburg in the New York State Senate, wanted to help celebrate this important moment. So thank you.
This is John Farron. He's going to give a little presentation on Arbor Day at some point. Lori Martell, who was our glorious leader for many years and is now recording secretary, and she'll be talking about Tree City USA. Munson Miller, who is going to, when I get done talking about the tree, he's going to tell you about the techniques for proper planting. And Nancy Skiff, who is going to introduce members of the garden club and possibly do some flower planting a little later on, I guess. Anyway, that's her job. And I'm Don O'Shea, and I'm current chair of the Tree Commission. And I'm going to talk about this ginkgo and why we chose it. I heard some feedback from different folks. Well, why not plant a maple? Well, you got a lot of maples. Maples can be problematic, and they've got a lot of, in that clan, they've got a lot of weak sisters. And, we get certain insects up here that could wipe out the maples and cause as many problems as the emerald ash borer is currently with the ash trees. The ginkgo has been around unchanged for 150 million years. It's unique in that it's one of a kind in all taxonomic classes. It's ginkgo ace in the family. It's ginkgo in thinking of John. Anyway, it's one of a kind. Unlike the maple clan with all of its weak sisters, there's nothing, all your eggs are in one basket with this tree. It either makes it or it fails. And if it fails, it's 100%. And if it makes it, it's 100%. All things being equal, and barring any unforeseen circumstances like catastrophic climate problems or some madman with a chainsaw, this thing should be around for the next 150 years. Now it came from a nursery, and judging by the size of that, I'd say that's several years old. So we don't know how well it's been taken care of, so it's a crapshoot as far as that. But our job is to make sure that we take proper care of it now. So I can see where the soil line was in the nursery, and you see where that flare is at the bottom. We would prefer to leave that flare. However, the root system is above the flare, so we've got to cover it. It got scarfed a little when they unloaded it. Shouldn't be a problem. It should callus over. And I didn't personally get a look at the root ball, but the tree guys or the city guys told me that it looked pretty good. There was no wire on it. It was just burlap, and they had to bury it a little deeper because it was leaning pretty well. That'll be straightened up with stakes, and that'll be an absolute necessity. Munson will be talking more about that. It's a male tree because the females have fruit, of course, after about 20 years. But the fruit is pretty stinky. So we don't want that, and it's messy. We chose that particular cultivar for a couple of reasons. One of them being that it's male, and the second being that it has a columnar type growth, so it's not going to be that wide. It can reach 65 to 80 feet tall. We don't care, there's no wires up there. Let it grow. We wanted something that would really be a show tree. And I think that's going to fill the bill. It'll have a growth form similar to certain conifers, and so it'll stay kind of compact for us. And even if it were to spread out, it's going to be around a lot longer than those trees, so they're not going to hurt. As I said, unless there's some environmental catastrophe, that tree should be around for the 300th anniversary celebration. if there's any questions on it, we'll be meeting after, and I'll be glad to answer it for you if I can. I'd like Munson now to describe some of the planning techniques used.